Can good design shape a better world? At Monocle's Quality of Life conference in Barcelona this September, we'll be putting that question to the people who already are. Join leading designers, architects, and creative leaders as we explore how design intersects with culture, business, and everyday life. Plus, great food, excellent company, and plenty of Catalan charm. Find out more and book your seat at monocle.com/conference.
This is Monocle on Design Extra. It's a short show to accompany our weekly programme where we discuss everything from architecture and craft to furniture and graphic design. I'm Maylee Evans. We head to the Noguchi Museum in New York, where a sprawling current exhibition features the work of the Lagos-based artist Temitayo Ogunbiyi. The showcase, entitled "You Will Wonder If We Would Have Been Friends," is inspired by and in conversation with the work of artist, furniture designer and landscape architect Isamu Noguchi. Temitayo's work, a mixture of sculptures, paintings and drawings, are dotted throughout the museum and garden, nestled alongside the permanent collection of works by Noguchi. We join Monocle contributor Naomi Zhu Elegant in the Noguchi Museum Gardens now, where she toured the exhibition with head curator Matthew Kirsch. The duo discuss how Ogunbiyi, like Noguchi himself, blurs the lines between functional design and art.
Tayo has been in Lagos for about 14 years now, I think going on 15 years. And during that time, she's had children. And she noticed that there was a kind of a lack of playground facilities. So this was for her, this kind of problem to address, very similar in mindset to Noguchi, kind of using sculpture as this potential functional object that can have two uses. And so she was doing research into creating play sculptures out of both household materials, but also construction materials, things that would be more mundane materials that would be easy for her to get, or at least available in some way. She's created these sculptures out of metals, different forms of metals, but then wound a manila rope around them. So she's done studies into kind of the tensile strength of these materials that she's used, and also the ideal heights for playgrounds. So she has put research into that
because
aspect.
She wants them to actually be used.
Yes, I think one of the interviews that I read, her hope is to have a playground on all the continents.
And you were also mentioning the title of the exhibit refers to sort of her connection with Noguchi himself. Could you talk a bit about that?
Yes. You Will Wonder If We Would Have Been Friends has its roots in this use in Nigeria of the phrase "you will" as this kind of way declarative of wishing good luck for others or good fortune for others. And she kind of has used this as a titling convention across her sculptural works for the last 7 or 8 years now. All of the sculptures and installations in this exhibition kind of use that titling convention as well.
And
this musical piece is called "You Will Revisit Paths of Friendship." Again, kind of referencing these kind of hypothetical paths that she envisioned Noguchi taking throughout various important points in his New York personal history.
Because I guess their work also has some kind of thematic overlap, right?
Yes, Noguchi was from 1933 onward. His first play concept was a piece called Play Mountain, which would have taken up about one New York City block and was meant to be this kind of pyramidal structure with a long ramp winding on one side and then these various stepped platforms. So he did not create the typical play equipment that would have been found at your Depression era playground in New York City, which typically had the cookie cutter pieces of play equipment, slides, swing sets, set on asphalt. He really wanted to provide this kind of open-ended environment for children to be able to kind of explore the world as if for the first time and learn by creating their own and inventing their own games. So Noguchi, he was throughout his career, he came up with various iterations on play concepts and was kind of constantly frustrated by the head of the New York Parks Department, Robert Moses. And what has been left behind were these project models, like bronze conceptual models that he really just created as a record for himself. And, around the time of different retrospectives in his career, he wanted to kind of show that play was this important motivating force in his early career. He was really trying to get away from like the idea of creating sculpture as like this art for art's sake, activity. He wanted to create works that had some connection to everyday life and could become kind of places of social exchange and communication. Similarly, that is what Temitayo envisions her play sculptures. They're a place for not only for children to play, but also, you come into contact with people you wouldn't necessarily come into contact with when you're bringing your child to a playground. So it is this kind of unsung point of connection and communication.
Yeah, it's always interesting when sculptors play with the boundary between art and design, or function and non-function, because there are other artists who are very allergic to that and who want to say, no, my art is for art's sake, it's a useless object, and would hate if you said, what if we interacted with it some way that could be functional. It's cool that they are kind of the opposite of that.
Yes. Yeah, Noguchi in his lifetime had criticisms for what he called the false horizon of the museum pedestal. And that was something that he worked against throughout his career, and especially you'll see in his taking up of the garden, public plaza, playground as these kind of possibilities for sculpture. Spaces where there is no single focal point, but where they are this kind of creation of space through different, not necessarily art materials like trees, paving, seating. I think elements of space that people don't really consider as something that makes the space livable and habitable for you on a daily basis.
Curator Matthew Kirsch there in conversation with Monocle contributor Naomi Chu Elegant. Temitayo Ogunbiyi, You Will Wonder If We Would Have Been Friends, is on at the Noguchi Museum in New York until the 2nd of November 2025. And that's all for this week. If you're eager for more design stories, then listen to our main programme, Monocle on Design, airing on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. London time. Or if you prefer print, you can pick up a copy of Monocle magazine. It's available on all good newsstands now. Today's episode was produced by me, Maylee Evans, with editing help from Hunter Wang. Thank you very much for listening.